Hey everyone, and welcome to this brand new video featuring the D-Line extension update for the month of December. Today we'll be looking at all that's new here on Tiger Railfan. First, let's get a look at the route we're going to be following today. We'll be starting at the eastern end of the extension at Wilshire La Brea, heading west all the way towards phase 3 of the extension at the VA Medical Center. We'll be covering all stations on this 9.1 mile line. Here we are at the Wilshire La Brea area, kicking off today's construction update. Just ahead of us is the intersection of Wilshire and La Brea. On the right-hand side, we're going to see a staging area for the station site, and on the left-hand side is going to be where the actual entrance for the station will be. Looks like we have some drilling happening here, some small-scale drilling on the right-hand side with that forklift with a drill bit attached to it. Just passing us on the left-hand side is the Metro Local 20, which is most likely going to be the bus route that remains after the D-Line extension opens. In my opinion, the rapid variant, the 720, is going to be disbanded and removed once the 3 phases open. But we can see that the median is looking great here with those plants at the bottom and the palm trees in the center. Those look really good. Let's go ahead and cross the street here to get a look at the actual station entrance. There is an empty plot just ahead, and I'm curious what Metro is going to use it for, as they do own the land. Hopefully they use it for a good purpose, like some transit-oriented development. That would certainly be something I would love to see here, as we already see plenty of that happening on other parts of the street. Just ahead we can see that pretty large apartment complex, which will hopefully provide some ridership for the station here. And now we're coming up to the actual station entrance on the left-hand side. We can see the elevators look pretty much ready to open, and there is a good deal of plant life here as well that separates the adjacent property from the actual station. But now let's get a look at the station entrance right here. We can see that the station lighting is on, which is good to see, in addition to the elevators looking in clean, pristine condition. We can see that the information holders are still empty, but they are complete as well just beyond that. There is an interesting tarped item though in the center right there. I'm curious what that's going to be used for. If you do know, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. But let's go ahead and get a look straight on at the Wilshire La Brea station. There is some cool station art that's been featured on the sides of the station entrance structure, which has been cool to see. It's been different in each one. So feel free to take a look for that as we continue along the construction update as well. There's a front view of the elevators, and here we have some work being done on the escalators, I believe here. There's also some supplies being brought into the station, as you might be able to hear some clinking and some loud noises coming down from people dropping things, it seems. But we're now here at the official intersection of Wilshire and La Brea. Here's another view of the station with the Metro logo and another street light that's on with a security camera, so that all looks pretty much ready to go. Hopefully some more businesses occupy that bottom part of the building across the street as well. There has been a problem in Los Angeles in general with a lot of open retail space, and I've noticed that especially around subway stations and light rail stations, which is unfortunate. But as we begin walking northbound on La Brea, we can see there's a truck pulling things from the ground here, and there's an open pathway here, which definitely isn't allowed, I don't think. But looking here at the rear of the station, we can see that there is some good bike amenities here with some bike racks on the right hand side and bike lockers on the left. I feel like these are such underrated benefits of the stations, and I feel like they should be featured much more than they are now, especially at downtown locations like Pico Station, for example. Looks like they are pumping out maybe some dirt from beneath the ground to clear some area. I'm not sure, but if you do know, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. I always enjoy reading and responding to those. But if you are enjoying the video so far, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more. I love making videos like this, and subscribing and liking the video helps more people get informed about LA Metro projects like this one. Now back to the video, we can see quite a bit of buses passing by. Might be some examples of bus bunching here, where 2 buses on the same route are very close to each other because one is very late and one can be early. But there are 2 bus routes traveling along Wilshire Boulevard, the Limited Express 720 and Local 20. Both of these bus routes are some of the busiest on the LA Metro system, so it is definitely good to see a subway station coming to the area. And I love how substantial the project is, with the 9.1 mile extension pretty much doubling, almost tripling the D-line right of way. But now let's begin heading back to where we were to take a look at the staging area, which is located across the street from the station entrance. It's really just a dirt lot here with some construction vehicles and some limited equipment along the plot. But I hope they are able to clear the area out here and turn this into some transit-oriented development once the station opens as well. So hopefully they take advantage of the large amount of properties they have here. And there is that drilling happening on the left-hand side. Looks like they might be laying some pipe and creating that initial pathway. But that concludes it for the Wilshire La Brea station here on Phase 1, scheduled to open winter of 2026. Let's go ahead towards the next stop along the line at Wilshire and Fairfax, which serves tons of museums as well that we'll get to take a brief look at. So let's go ahead and take a look. And now welcome to the Wilshire Fairfax station area, where we're going to be taking a look at the station from the view of the Rapid 720, which is the express variant of the bus that runs along Wilshire Boulevard. You can already see the Peterson Automotive Museum just on the right hand side and the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures on the left. And if you look closely, you can see the Metro sign just on the right hand side of your screen. That's where the station is going to be located, just past the intersection of Wilshire and Fairfax, which is what light we're waiting at right now. But going ahead, let's take a look at the station. There are some crews working on the street, most likely related to utilities, so maybe not the project. We do have that same sidewalk closure right in front of the entrance of the museum, unfortunately, and there is the station. Taking a freeze frame right here, we can see that not much is new at this station. However, of course, the station structure looks pretty much complete, and the lighting is off though, which is an interesting thing that we see here. But as we continue along Wilshire Boulevard, we can see the palm trees continue lining the median, and we have this new bridge, which is related to the LA County Museum of Art. And that's where the construction is, right here over on the right hand side. So with that, let's head over to the next stop along the line, which is Wilshire La Cienega. Welcome to the Wilshire La Cienega station area. Just ahead is the main intersection of Wilshire and La Cienega. This is going to be the last station on Phase 1 of the D-Line extension, scheduled to open just in a few months in the winter of 2026. We can see the density along this area here continues to be quite dense, and that's going to provide a good amount of ridership for the station. But looking just over the left-hand side, we can see the station building. And you can also see the Metro logo is lit up, one of the new common features that we've seen in the November construction update and this one as well. Let's go ahead and cross the street to get a closer look at the actual station entrance. We can see that the sidewalk here is closed, or the right-hand lane rather, but it doesn't appear that they're closing it for any apparent reason. There's no construction vehicles or equipment being stored here, but maybe they're just letting the pavement dry, as it does look pretty new. But let's go ahead and go towards the station. Here we are, crossing La Cienega Boulevard. We can see that Metro logo sign from a distance, which is nice to see. I almost wish they would light those up, but they might be. They could just still be working on it. That would make the stations really pop during the nighttime. So there are some sidewalk detour signs, but we are able to walk in front of the station, which is good to see. And now here's our first look. We can see they've added a tree just in front of the station, and it looks shiny and clean as ever. The Metro logo lighting is on, and everything looks pretty much complete. The station art is ready, but there is just some ladders and utility equipment just on the bottom left-hand side of the screen. So they are wrapping up a couple things for sure. So let's take a look at this brief before and after, where we can see the La Cienega Station entrance from this month compared to a few months ago. And we can see there is definitely quite a bit of progress made, and Metro has done a great job when it comes to that. Moving along though, we can see a sign showcasing that the sidewalk we're currently walking on might be intermittently closed over the course of the next month. But hopefully that happens mostly overnight when most people aren't walking around here. Let's go ahead and get another angle at the station entrance here, showcasing more of the station art at the rear of the station. I love how it reflects the design of the architecture of the buildings around here as well. Metro has really catered their artwork towards the local area, which I think is great. We can see some station lighting as well up there, but it appears like it's off for some reason. Maybe they're done testing the electrical equipment. But here are the elevators. Looks like they still have some plywood in that left-hand side elevator, but the other ones look ready to operate. And I love how Metro has been putting elevators in sets of 2, as that's going to enable better ADA accessibility, as one elevator can wait at the top and one can be at the bottom, making it quicker for people to enter and exit the station. Even for those with luggage, which is nice, especially as we get new travelers from the LAX Metro Transit Center. Connections are available to Metro Bus Route 105 and Antelope Valley commuter express buses that go towards the valley. But now here is a side perspective of the station. Here we can see one of those wooden structures right in front of us that keeps track of how many people are currently underground working on the project. That is a safety measure so that if an event happens downstairs, rescuers are able to know how many people are downstairs in the subway area. Let's go ahead and get one more vantage point at the rear of the station here. We can see that there is another decorative tree, and the concrete floor does abruptly end right here at this fence line. I am curious what's going to happen with this area over on the left. It is a rather small plot of land, so it's most likely going to be used for utilities for the metro station. But here we are back walking along La Cienega Boulevard. There is this interesting structure here covering that small area where it looks like a tree used to be. Hopefully they add some more matching greenery as well, as that has really benefited the stations and the streetscape around the corridor, especially around those first 2 stations that we looked at Wilshire La Brea and Fairfax, with those tree-lined medians. As we cross the street, there's the Rapid 720, the rapid variant running along Wilshire Boulevard. As we continue walking eastbound, we're going to be able to see that sidewalk remains closed just ahead, and that construction, if you recall last month's update, continues for quite some time. It's also a sidewalk intermittent closure sign right there as well, showcasing that it might be closed if you are walking through the area, so make sure to keep an eye out for that. Here is the local 105 route, which runs north and south along La Cienega Boulevard. And there goes that Rapid 720 bus. So Wilshire and La Cienega is truly a busy bus hub. And it's going to have even more ridership and pedestrian traffic after the D-Line subway extension opens. But let's head to the next one, Beverly Drive. Now welcome to the Beverly Drive area here. We can see the famed Rodeo Drive, tourist attraction and shopping area just located across the street over there, known for its high-end shopping and dining. You can see the area already looks really nice with the massive trees in the median, including Christmas decorations that you might be able to recall from last month's construction update if you saw it. But if not, it's going to be linked in the description down below. The construction actually starts east of Rodeo Drive, and this provides some reasoning for the name change of the station, which was originally called Rodeo Drive, but is now called Beverly Drive, to more accurately reflect the location that the station is at. There you can see some of the Christmas decorations as well, towards the top left of the screen. And here we see our first signs of construction as well. But before we get into it, if you do enjoy the video, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more just like this one. I upload monthly construction updates for multiple projects, including the automated people mover and the D-Line subway extension here. But now let's continue and get back to the construction aspect of the video. Here we are now at Beverly Drive and Wilshire Boulevard, where the construction begins to take shape. We can see on both sides of the street, the rightmost lane, or shoulder rather, and sidewalk are closed. It's worth noting that the walkability of this area in terms of the sidewalk closures are rapidly changing. If you take a look at some of the previous construction updates, you'll notice that each month it's a different configuration of sidewalk. For example, in this video, we're actually able to continue walking along the south side of Wilshire Boulevard on this makeshift sidewalk area, which is ADA accessible and has a smooth ramp onto it from the concrete. We can see here this has been one of the access points down into the subway level, so it looks like they were able to open some space here, which is awesome to see. Again, it is worth noting that if you are going to be driving or walking through the Beverly Drive or Rodeo Drive area, don't forget to give yourself extra time in order to ensure that you don't become late for wherever you're heading to as a result of the construction area around here. But we're actually going to be able to get a good look at the station entrance itself, which is going to be located just ahead on the right-hand side. Previously, we'd have to look across the street with an obstructed view, but we're going to be able to see all of that in today's episode with some close-up looks at the station design and what they have going so far. So let's take a look. Looks like we can see it's mostly a dirt floor as well with a yellow crane in the distance, but I do see some new stuff happening on the left-hand side, some new construction materials. It looks like actually the trimming for the station's roof. If you recall what the previous stations look like, you'll notice that's what the edge of it looks like. That crane is also actively in motion as well, which is pretty awesome. Curious to see what it was just bringing up, but it looks like it could be porta potties again, which is interesting as that's got to be the most frequently moved item that we've seen across these construction updates. Getting another look here, we can see that straight on the roof trimming there, it's definitely going to be taken up to the top of the construction site, and it'll be placed soon, hopefully. If you look on the left-hand side, you'll also see there is some concrete structure. You can see by that opening in the middle of it has been set and is essentially covered and ready for the next step, which is, I believe, the roofing, as we can see those open pillar-like structures at the top of it. So I'm excited to see the progress with that, as I'm sure by the time January rolls around, we'll see quite a bit of new construction on that roof structure. It is worth noting that I'm glad that they are finally making some big strides in construction here, especially as this station is in phase 2 of the extension, which is scheduled to open at the end of 2026, just about a year from this video's uploading, so it is not far away from being due. Here is another look at that station's site so far from a further vantage point. We're able to see the skeleton of the station here and some of the wires that are going in those pillars as well, which is interesting to see. We've caught the station at a good time and quite an interesting one in the station's construction progress at the video's filming of December 1st. Looks like we are actually able to walk along this way as well, but if you remember from last episode, it does kind of trap you in a sense that you would have to turn around and come back towards the crosswalk. But let's actually go ahead and take a look. Maybe they've also fixed the pedestrian routing in this area as well. So I'll go ahead and update you on what happens. And yeah, we're able to make it fully through here. There wasn't an obstruction like some of the last construction updates, which is awesome to see. So here we are now at the intersection of Wilshire Boulevard and Cannon Drive. We can see now just across the street the construction staging area for the D-Line station here. Now, this isn't going to be the location of a station entrance, but they have construction offices, first aid, and other construction vehicles and equipment stored here. It has remained the same over the past few months and really hasn't taken much change throughout the construction's progress. So I'm going to go ahead and continue going along Wilshire Boulevard, where just east of this point, the construction begins to thin out. Looking back, we can see that chain link fence area was used to protect some construction vehicles. But other than that, now that we are at Crescent Drive, the construction has pretty much stopped. It is worth noting that there is a lane closure up ahead, but it looks like it's either related to the office buildings or it's going to be for the subway's actual track right-of-way, which isn't as significant as the station box area. But they could be using it to transport materials down to the track level, or again, they could be transporting things like porta potties down there. But we unfortunately aren't able to see down there, but let's go ahead towards the next stop along the line though, which is Century City Constellation. And now welcome to the Century City Constellation Station area. We're currently located on Avenue of the Stars, which is the main central street that runs into Century City. We're currently on the right-hand side of the street, or if you're looking at a map, it's going to be the western side of the street. Looking across, we can see the eastern side, which still has that pedestrian walkway blocked off. And there really isn't any good signage as well as to whether or not it's going to open, or even the fact that it's closed. So it can be really confusing for those traveling through here, I could imagine. So if you are walking through the area, make sure you're on this side of the street to ensure that you don't have to walk all the way back or be forced to jaywalk. But here we are now at the station site here at the intersection of Avenue of the Stars and Century City Drive. Looks like that building is going to be part of the elevator structure for the Century City Station. Looks like it's also connecting to an elevated park walkway just at the left-hand side of the screen there, which is going to connect to the variety of skyscrapers nearby. So it's going to look something a little bit like the Grand Avenue Arts Bunker Hill Station, where it has that upper bridge level. That's what I can imagine they're doing here at Century City. The concrete structure is pretty much all the way done as well. They're just working on the exterior features now. But it's good to see that the basic concrete is there. They're starting with the skeleton and it looks pretty much complete. But now let's cross the street here to get an up-close look at the actual progress inside the station area so far, particularly underground. Compared to last month's episode, we haven't seen too many construction workers, but there are still some present, especially inside the fence line here. Here's a quick look at a before and after, where we can take a look at what they've done so far. But now let's continue looking around the station area. Of course, we can see those construction workers gathered around that little construction temporary bridge right there. But let's go ahead and get some more vantage points to take a look at what else we can see happening here at the station so far. Again, it is really difficult to tell what's happening here just because of all of the construction equipment and mess around. It is going to be opening by the end of 2026, so we don't see an exact station structure completed already, like the ones that we've seen at the first 3 stations in last month's update. But we are still going to see some basic structures, and this is the good part of construction where they are really working on the construction of the site, especially last month's episode, if you remember, with the seas of construction workers that we've seen. Looking from this angle, we can't really see anything too much else. We can see that the ground is pretty hollow, but unfortunately we weren't able to see all the way down to the subway platform level, as of course it has already been covered up, such like the VA Medical Center station was. We can also see a crane in the distance as well, most likely working on the tracks right away. And we can tell that because of the concrete part of the road. That's where they are temporarily putting that in place of the asphalt in order to support the road structure while they dig underneath the ground and do various construction activities. But now let's continue walking along here to get some more vantage points. From the side here, it is really confusing to see what is part of the station and what is not. But I imagine Metro has at least partnered with the nearby property owners to create good access to the skyscrapers and other nearby buildings without having to go all the way to the street. Hopefully this appeals to all those Century City office workers, and I would love to see some of those people on the D-Line subway. I'm sure it'd be a much better way to commute into work for sure. Continuing along this way, obviously the sidewalk is going to be closed on the other side of the street, so we can't get any close-up looks, unfortunately. But here we can see a really good sight of line of the elevated park area on the right-hand side. You can see those trees just above those concrete structures, and it appears like they're using it as a parking lot beneath it, which is a really smart idea. Looking straight ahead, I do believe that would be an elevator structure on the right-hand side. You can see how it's slightly higher than the rest of it, providing room for that extra elevator equipment that's needed whenever building. But on this side of the street, we do see some bike racks already, which is a pretty neat feature in my opinion. Hopefully they add a lot more of that with the actual station itself as well, including those bike lockers, which we've seen at plenty of other stations. Bike lockers, in my opinion, is really what's going to get people riding their bikes to the stations, as there's nothing safer than having your bike fully enclosed, especially if it's a nicer one. But continuing forward, we can see a lot more construction is happening. Luckily though, we do have a sidewalk detour, so we're able to walk along the right side of the street. And just a little bit of a spoiler alert, there is an open door just ahead to a new part of the construction site that we really haven't looked at before. So make sure to stay tuned for that as we continue along here. So now let's continue walking along the street here, and we can tell that the right-of-way is just beneath us because the floor of the road is, of course, that concrete squared texture. Hopefully they do end up fixing this and repaving the road once, of course, construction is complete, as it is definitely an eyesore, and the vehicles going over those, especially at higher speeds, make quite a lot of noise as they go over those parts in between these squares or the lines that you see on the ground. Looks like on the other side of the street, they are using that space to store construction equipment and vehicles in particular. That's most likely their staging area where they park and drop off. But we can see an open door just ahead with the construction site, which is not going to be where the actual subway station entrance will be located, obviously, but this is a external site where they are using it to reach the subway platform area. I'm curious how long they are making these subway platforms as well, as the platform may actually extend all the way out this way easily. But the thing that we see is the doors open, so we're able to take a peek at what's been behind this entire time. My guess is going to be it's similar to the Westwood UCLA station, where it's really just some construction equipment, some supplies stacked up here and there, and not much else. We can kind of see that from here as well. We can see some porta potties, some shipping containers, which was pretty interesting, most likely to store things like dirt, I assume. But let's go ahead and cross the street and get a closer look at that area, since we haven't been able to feature that in any previous construction updates. I also love how they are still advertising over here as well. The Century City Constellation Station name is posted there, in addition to a bunch of contact references for those who have questions, and it really gives a good sense of what people can expect from the line. Let's go ahead and cross the street and get a closer look. What's interesting is, just like the Beverly Drive station, we have a noise control sign on the right hand side, which is interesting to see. Which is interesting because there really, at least from what I can see, are no homes or residences nearby. But generally looking at the plot of land here, it is similar to the Westwood UCLA station. We've got some construction vehicles on the left hand side. All are not being used at the moment, so this might be more of a long-term storage, but it's really just construction equipment and some storage, most likely in the form of those shipping containers. So not much there, unfortunately pretty underwhelming, but coming out this way we can see a huge look at the density here. Century City, as I was saying plenty of times in previous episodes as well, is one of the most dense areas outside of downtown Los Angeles, and it essentially is one with the amount of office space available per square mile. But now let's go ahead now to the next stop along the line, which is going to be the Westwood UCLA station. Let's go ahead and take a look. Welcome to the Westwood UCLA station area. We're currently at the intersection of Kinross, an unnamed road actually. It does just list the parking structure and the lot number over here as a street name, so it's interesting to see that. But we're currently along the backside of the Westwood UCLA station entrance, which, as a reminder, is located along phase 3 of the extension. Westwood UCLA and VA Medical Center will be opening by the end of 2027 as of this video's posting. Now, of course, UCLA is mentioned in the station's name, but most of the classrooms, facilities, dorms, and things of that nature are located roughly a mile away towards the northeast. However, there are still some parts of UCLA really close to the station site, including the Kinross Recreation Center. So if you do go to UCLA, you can jump out of the subway, get a quick workout in, and keep going. So at least that's convenient in that nature. There's also the Bruin Bus Depot on the right-hand side, so student workers would have a really good access point to their jobs. Just in front of us is the National Cemetery, and now we're along Veteran Avenue, just passing the intersection of Kinross and Veteran. Just ahead, that big skyscraper-like structure is also the Los Angeles County Passport Building. Now let's continue looking on this side of the street where we can see a bus stop coming up ahead and one of the Culver City's green buses running by. Now this bus stop services Culver City Bus Local 6, Big Blue Bus Route 17, 18, and 2, and notably there is a rapid Culver City variant of the Route 6, which is the R6. It did stop though at the bus stop where we started this section of the video, so it's not too far of a walk away. But here we are closer to the construction walls of the D-Line subway. I love how it showcases the route map there and the possibilities that you would have when transiting through the area. They do have that on the other side of the street as well, so that way more vehicles will be able to see it. Now I'd love to do a before and after here as well. We can see already quite a bit of differences in terms of the construction equipment present, which is awesome to see. That means people have been working hard in this area and it's required them to change the configuration of products. Back to the video, zooming in though, we can spot some construction workers who are lugging around some what appears like flexible pipe by hand, which is kind of interesting to see. I'm curious where that would go actually in the station's construction. But of course on the left-hand side, we have that ominous tarp structure there, or pile of something rather. I'm not sure what it would be, but if you do know and you have information, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. We can see the designs continue along the construction walls here as we reach the intersection of Wilshire Boulevard and Veteran Avenue, which is going to be the prime entry point for the station. This is also where you're going to be able to connect to several bus connections, including the Metro Rapid 720, the Local 20, and of course those same Big Blue Bus and Culver City Bus connections that I mentioned at that previous bus stop. Although there is quite a bit of traffic backed up here as well because of the two right lanes being closed. Looks like it's all just for that construction vehicle on the left-hand side, which does seem a little bit excessive, especially as this directly impacts the bus routes in the area as well, as I'm sure that Rapid 720 bus isn't running on time anymore. But one of my favorite parts of the wrapped part here is that map of UCLA, literally on the construction wall. For a closer look at that, feel free to take a look at one of my previous construction updates where I take a detailed look at that. But to save your time, that is pretty much it for the Westwood and UCLA construction update. But now let's continue heading westbound to the final stop along the line, which is going to be the VA Medical Center. Although one comment before we move on though, I really hope they add some medians maybe in the future, as it is pretty unsafe for pedestrians due to the sheer traffic here and turn lanes. But let's take a look at the next stop, VA Medical Center. And welcome to the VA Medical Station area, which is going to be located roughly around the intersection of Wilshire and Bonsall Avenue, on the side southbound facing the hospital. We just got off the Rapid 720, and we're currently walking down from the eastbound bus stop, which is located on this freeway-like on-ramp. As you can see, Wilshire Boulevard operates similar to a highway or expressway in a sense that it goes over Bonsall Avenue here with some freeway ramps connecting the street below. That'll help traffic flow up on Wilshire Boulevard, but it makes it really difficult for those to connect to their buses, as they would have to exit onto the on-ramp here, and they're not able to deviate closer to the VA Medical Hospital Center or the station itself. But there is a bridge project being worked on in order to help solve that problem. Now let's go ahead and walk under the bridge here, which features several military seals. For a closer look at them, feel free to check out some other construction update videos as well, where I take more of a detailed look at those seals. But let's go ahead and get towards the actual Station site, which is located just ahead on the southbound side of the Wilshire and Bonsall intersection. Let's go ahead and cross to get a closer look. Lucky for us, the sidewalk is open in both directions, so we were able to go up to the construction fence and get a look down into the station. Let's go ahead and take a look. Right off the bat though, we can see that unfinished bridge pillar, which has remained in that same state for quite some time, so it hasn't been worked on pretty much at all. But eventually there's going to be a bridge above that pillar connecting the station site all the way to the Wilshire Boulevard Bridge, enabling Metro riders to make a quick connection onto Wilshire Boulevard buses. We'll see a more detailed look at that in some concept art in just a second, which is actually posted on the construction wall. But looking in now this way, we can't see too much essentially. It's actually quite a bit of a dirt lot, but there is a wide opening in the center that I'm sure many of you are familiar with if you've been watching the videos. Let's go ahead and get another vantage point to see what we can see. If you remember from last month's update, they had completely covered the station box area, so we were unable to see the platform anymore. There is that hole in the ground I was talking about. You can see the frame for the construction worker elevator just on the left-hand side of the screen with that gray structure, and a lot of support beams, especially on the left-hand side. There are some white pipes just in front of us. Maybe they're going to be using those PVC pipes for something else inside the project site. But other than that, looking across the hole in the ground, it's really just some more construction vehicles and stored construction equipment waiting its turn to go downstairs into the subway station. Now again, we can see the road turns from asphalt to the concrete square-like structures, and that means we're walking above the subway right-of-way. On the right-hand side, there is also a plot of land being taken to stage construction as well. There is also access down towards the subway level from that side of the street as well. And now here we go. This is what we're looking at. Here is the subway station site. The subway platform, of course, is fully covered, and there is some rebar going vertical here off of that structure, which is going to be stabilizing the ground above, especially with earthquake risk here in California. So that's going to be really helpful in terms of that. But now let's continue looking at some other vantage points here. I do hope they improve the sidewalk here, as it's definitely quite messy and would be really difficult for a wheelchair to pass by in due to the gravel on the sidewalk. But here is that publicly posted concept art that I was talking about, showcasing what the VA Medical Center station would look like once complete. We can see a paratransit service for veterans, which I think is a great idea, in addition to that bridge structure, which is going to have 2 escalators and 2 elevators leading up to Wilshire Boulevard, so people can more conveniently connect to their buses. And the buses wouldn't even need to use the on-ramp. They just need to pull off to the side of the road, speeding up travel times. And now here's one final look at this side of the street. We can see that big red crane there, which appears inactive at this time of filming, but we have seen it active in plenty of other episodes, and it appears like it's still connected to some porta potties. Hopefully it was lifting some other thing between this video and last month's video filming. The hospital is located just to the left-hand side, but let's go ahead and walk across the street here to take a look at the satellite construction site, which unfortunately would be really difficult to turn into some transit-oriented development. And that's because most of the area around here is protected federal land. Looks like there are some pickups just placed in here, as well as a yellow crane and a construction worker. It's also worth noting that the Big Blue Bus Route 17 stops just ahead at that bus stop on Bonsall Avenue. But with that, that is going to bring our construction update for December of 2025 toward an end, with a mini compilation of some of the bus connections that we've seen throughout this month's episode. I hope you've learned as much as I have in this month's construction update, and I hope you enjoy getting the information and having fun with it as well. Next time, I'll see you in January 2026, and hopefully I have news of the D-Line subway station opening Phase 1, as it is supposed to be open by this month's filming. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more just like this. I do post monthly construction updates for several projects, including the D-Line subway extension route that you're watching now and the automated people mover. I hope you've enjoyed. Have an amazing rest of your day or night.